Vloggers, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you're all having the best day ever. Thank you so much for clicking on my video and choosing to spend even a little portion of your day with me, or wherever. It's nighttime, evening, who knows? Let me know down below. Also, let me know where you're watching from. I haven't done this in quite some time and it literally just popped in my head. But one of my favorite things to do whenever I'm going through my comment sections is kind of like engaging more and like learning where people are from, like what your names are and stuff like that. So wherever you're watching in the world right now, please tell me, and whatever time you're watching this at, I would really love to read those. But we are going to be doing an interesting video today, which, oh, by the way, I need a burp. My body's trying to stop me. It's so shocked by the news that I have to tell you. But Trisha Paytas has given birth. Trishy Fishy has given birth to her little baby girl. She is called Malibu Barbie. And she was born on the 9th or something. I think like maybe yesterday, or I don't know. The American birthing date is completely different than what we use. So let me actually just bring that up. She was born on the 14th of September. So born yesterday. Y'all Americans write your dates the other way about. Confusing. But anyway, that's not what today's video is about, but I did want to address it because I know that a lot of people are going to be wondering if I do know. I do know. And yeah, that is that. I wish the baby the best. So, what we're going to be focusing on today is the other side, which is Gabbie Hanna. So if you're aware, my last video I posted was actually talking about Gabbie Hanna and the situation that happened on her TikTok when she was very clearly going through some sort of crisis. I didn't really talk about it in the moment, and whenever I did, I said that it just made me really uncomfortable, and I was kind of waiting to see, you know, what would happen if she would address it, and then I was kind of more comfortable talking about that, which is what happened. So Gabbie addressed it a lot, and we went through those videos, but actually Gabbie has uploaded another set of videos addressing the situation that happened on TikTok, and the breakdown in question. So we're gonna watch the rest of them. Again, we have a lot to get through, so we're just gonna start here. Now, I have not watched any of these. You know that whenever I watch these videos, I like watching them with you for the first time, so you're getting my honest, genuine reaction, and that is what's going to be happening here. So I have absolutely no idea what these ones are about. All I know is that the last one I watched was part 8, and this one's part 9. So let's get in it, and I can't wait to hear what you have to say down below, and I also can't wait what she has to say, because I really want to know as well. Okay, let's start.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I decided, why not continue?
Cheers.
Story time, because I used to, when I was a YouTuber, just be so thankful.
When I was a YouTuber.
Insane situations, because then I got to make a story. So I'm going to continue my story. So I was raised with a very strong fear of hell. As somebody who was raised Catholic, I don't believe in most organized religion. I think that it's become very fear-mongering and has lost the spirituality of what religion was supposed to be. The confusing part to me about my religion and the people who I tried to speak to in terms of my spiritual experiences kind of shamed me, or basically told me that I was crazy for having these spiritual experiences. It was confusing to me because I'm like...
One thing I would love to talk to you about pretty soon, which is one of my favorite topics ever. I actually haven't thought about it a lot myself recently, so I would love to start opening up this conversation again, and this was something about religion and spirituality. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you will know that whenever I was living in Derry, living in my family house back in Ireland, I used to make these videos at like 5 AM whenever I couldn't sleep, where I would just talk about something. And it would be something that's on my mind. It would be a conversation, whether it would be something just about aliens or whether it would be about where I'm feeling mentally. And a lot of the conversation was actually about spirituality and where I feel I lie when it comes to religion and spirituality. So I would love to know your opinion kind of briefly on that. We can obviously get into it a lot more intensely in the future, but I would love to know if you identify as being more religious, more spiritual, or just kind of living, you know, life on your own terms, or atheist, or I would love to know where you're at with it, because I think it's really individualized and I think it's a really interesting conversation. So I would love to have it down below briefly, and then whenever I make the video, I'll kind of know more about where we're all lying. All right, okay.
Like, y'all are the ones who are telling me that Jesus Christ was born and then died and then raised to the sky, and that if you pray to him, then he'll reveal himself, and if you pray to Mary, the Blessed Mother, then she'll come to you. And there's all these songs like written by the Beatles or other artists about walking with Mary. these spiritual experiences, but for some reason, if you talk to somebody in the church or somebody who's like a devout Catholic, they're very quick to discount your experience and make you feel insane. So when I started having...
I don't think Gabbie's been walking with Mary. I think she's been walking with Mary Jane.
Real visions last year that went outside of dreams. I used to only be able to have visions when I was falling asleep or in my dreams, but now it's like middle of the morning, open eyes, sober, about to run errands or go to the gym, and I'm having these very intense visions and spiritual experiences. Most people were quick to be like, go to the doctor, you're schizophrenic, you're having delusions and hallucinations, and you need to fix this before you end up in a lot of trouble. So I ended up going back to therapy, and the therapist that I had, God bless her, she told me like, no, like you're not schizophrenic. You're very clearly aware and lucid. If you were having these types of crazy experiences and delusions and hallucinations, you wouldn't be sitting with me questioning them right now. Okay. So that was the saving grace that I kept feeling, was like, okay, I am always questioning. So then after I went to her, I went to a neurologist who did brain scans, and then I went to another neurologist who had me get an MRI, and then another neurologist who read the MRI, and everything was normal. And I go about my life normally. I was encouraged by my therapist to just accept that I'm blessed with really spiritual and divine experiences. So, continued.
Okay, I mean, I don't know what we're starting this off talking about, I'm gonna be honest. This is all, like, captioned on TikTok about what happened with her on TikTok whenever she was going through it. So I don't know where we're going with this, but here's the next part.
So I want to describe for you one of the main delusions that I was having in this manic state, right? So there were a couple...
So she's categorizing it as a manic state, so I'll do the same.
That I really thought the world had ended, and I had experienced death, and I was given the answers of what heaven and hell was like, which is why I was so excited to share it with everybody, because what I still believe to be true, because I do believe that the experiences and the visions and the hallucinations in this manic state were actually giving me divine answers that I was really adamantly seeking. Okay. And it was amazing, because what heaven was exactly like earth, just like they tell us, as it was in the beginning, is now, and shall be forever, right? Heaven on earth. Heaven is a place on earth, the creator of heaven and earth.
This is how that I know that I am not the most religious. Heaven is a place on earth, I would have said, is a quote by Britney Spears from one of her songs. I would not have said that that was from the Bible. That's how far removed I am from the church.
The only difference between heaven and earth, life and death, was time. Because people are so connected to the idea of time. So there's this pressure to get stuff done quickly. You have to have kids quickly.
Ooh, I also love the conversation that she's having right now about time, because I don't think time exists, and I think it's a concept that we could easily so break, and it would change everything. Look at me entering my Gabbie Hanna era.
All these things before you die, and we're told this lie that life is short, but it's not. It's actually as breathtakingly long as it is heartbreakingly short. But when you remove the element of time and you now have eternity to do whatever you want, you get to create heaven on earth. And we're meant...
It's like a trip. Oh my god, I feel like I've done acid while I'm listening to her.
To be on earth, to create heaven on earth. But what a lot of people do is live in mediocrity, just waiting to die so that they can get to heaven. And that's where they fall onto religion, because they're like, okay, well,
I mean, that's a valid point.
If I follow these rules, if I go to church on Sunday and I go to confession and I get communion, whatever, I'll just go to heaven.
I haven't gone to confession since I was probably 8 years old. Could you imagine how long I would be in that fucking confession room for now? Like from 8 years old until now? Fuck me. I'd be in there all day, all night.
So fuck it, I'm just gonna kind of skate through life because life is short, and then I have eternal heaven, right? And hell is only real if you let it be, which I said in my song.
I think hell would be going to a Gabbie Hanna concert, I'm gonna be honest. That's my idea of hell.
My soul. Sometimes lyrics and art come to me and I don't know what they mean. And then a year or more later, I listen to it back and I'm like, holy shit. That's why that lyric just came to me, and why it felt so good is because it was given to me divinely. And I do believe in that.
Yeah, I do believe as well that Jesus Christ himself is writing the lyrics that we hear from Gabbie Hanna's voice. And if he is, he's an evil, evil man for setting her up like that.
Michelangelo and Da Vinci
evil.
and all of these Renaissance painters talk.
Renaissance, the Beyonce album. See, again, far removed from the church. I'm like making connections with things that are like pop culture.
They say that it was through divine intervention. Like, hey, how do you know what an angel looks like? Why did you paint Jesus like that? Because it was given to them through visions of divine.
No, it wasn't. I fully disagree with you there. The idea of Jesus being a white man, please. The photo that you see and that I see from growing up from a Catholic like school church is, whenever I think of Jesus, my mind automatically goes to, oh, that really, really, really white man. Because that was the photo that we seen every day when we were praying to it. Mary, really, 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 wow, it's really hard to say really that many times, white woman. Jesus was not a white man. If Jesus existed, he would not have been a white man. And Mary would not have looked like literally Britney Spears, the way that they portray her as. So this is not an idea given from heaven above, because if we're speaking strictly on the story of Jesus, where he came from, what he did, whatever, Jesus would not be a white man. So what she's saying here is bullshit.
Intervention. And again, I just believe in that. If you don't believe in that,
I don't.
You're not going to believe in any of this, but...
I believe in some of it, so that's actually not true, what you're saying. Okay, well that point, that's like, if you don't believe in all of this, or if you don't believe in any of this, you won't believe in all of this, that's not true. That just means you don't like people disagreeing with you. Anyway, next one. Oh, we're up and about now.
You know what's so interesting too, is when I wasn't sure if the world was ending, everybody was texting me. I've been in California for 8 years, and I've never had a family member visit me. So all of a sudden I'm getting texts from people like, can I come, can I come? And I'm like, no, I'm kind of busy right now actually, and I have a friend coming to stay with me, and I have a lot of plans, like, you know, in my mind, in my manic state, I didn't know if they were coming because they thought they were trying to help me. Because I'm like, okay, well, if you care about my well-being, like, it shouldn't just be this damage control thing where all of a sudden everybody wants to come help, but also, are you just worried that the world is about to end and you believe that I might be able to help you in some way?
Okay, in terms of the conversation of people trying to help me and it's just being damage control, I also don't agree with that whenever it's like, what would you expect people to do? Just ignore you and let you like fade away like you were in that state? No, they're coming to try help. It's not damage control, it's them seeing something alarming and trying to come help.
I genuinely had no idea what was going on with the rest of the world because I didn't look at the news, I didn't look at Twitter, I wasn't really reading comments, I was only responding to comments that were showing up in my feed as it was refreshing, so I genuinely had no fucking idea what was going on in the rest of the world. And I didn't want to. I just wanted to focus on doing what made me feel good, what felt light, and talking to and being around people who were only here for me now in this very viral national news.
But what are they supposed to do? Ignore you and let you allow yourself to be in a very dangerous state? I don't get it.
Public situation, like, I just didn't trust it and I didn't want anything to do with it. Maybe that's a message of, oh my god, hello. Hello, little cricket. Hello, little cricket.
Okay, I'm so glad we finished the train of thought there, I'm gonna be honest. Alright, next one, let's get to it.
I'm gonna share with you one of my manic delusions that actually brought me a lot of peace and happiness and calm. So I felt that I was given the confidential information that when an animal is lost, abused, trapped, or neglected, that they're actually being cared for by Mother Nature. Because Mother Nature would never actually allow one of her creations to suffer. I also like to believe that whenever somebody innocent, especially a child, is hurt or murdered, that during the actual act, they're not actually feeling physical pain and that their body is now just a vessel to either catch that killer or help that family grow in some type of way spiritually.
I wouldn't put this online, girl. I would not be saying this. I don't care if this is a manic delusion that you had. Why are you repeating it now when you're out of that state? Ew, not good.
That person's soul, spirit, angel, ghost, whatever you want to call it, the consciousness that is a part of your body, because as we know, our consciousness is not attached to our body, has already left. And their body, their vessel, is now just kind of like putting on an act for the sake of the Matrix.
That would have been a great TikTok to have kept in your drafts. Because that was not really a necessary one whatsoever, and what you said was very harmful. Anyway, next one!
Guys, can I tell you the truth about something? And this is only...
I'm sure you will either way, babe.
It makes sense to the people who watched the series of when that kid coerced his way into my...
Not watched the series. Fuck me. Is this Shane Dawson?
House, right?
So this is about Nick, the guy that broke into her house. Under false pretenses, so he broke in. Need to clarify that again.
Early, and honestly, I still do believe, now that I've been sober for like a week and I'm back into my like normal crazy Gabbie Hanna state, I really believed that that kid was sent to me as a test because he was acting like a fucking robot. Like the way that words were coming out of his mouth were not real, and the way he was moving was not real. And when I really was like, this kid's a motherfucking robot, was when he asked me for a glass of water, and I gave him a glass of water, and then he said, you should have some water too. And I was like, okay, I'll have some water. So then I pulled out a glass to pour my water, and then he took his glass and he was like, here, have some of mine. And the way he did it,
I hope she didn't drink from that if he did that, because again, that's like, she doesn't know what he could have put in the water then. It's like
the way they do the sacrament in church, where they like pour the wine into like another cup.
Girl, I don't think he was a robot. I think he was just someone who knew he was doing something wrong and acting in a very strange way.
Or whatever. And I was like, this is literally a robot. And then the girl who showed up with scars on her arms, I thought at that point the world had ended. There were 3 different times that I thought the world ended in that week. I'm dead fucking serious. So I had just thought that the world ended again, and I wasn't sure. So then this girl is crying and she's showing me her scars and shit. I thought that she was a ghost who had...
I really don't appreciate the laughing about self-harm here.
Up, and it was now my job. It was now my job as being on this other side of reality to usher lost souls to the other side, like a psychic medium. So this girl shows up who has clearly cut herself to fuck, right?
Okay, the delivery here could be a lot better.
And I'm like, oh my God, so is this a ghost who in her real life killed herself so she wasn't passed on to the other side? She's now at my doorstep at the end of the world. Like, does she not know she's dead? Really? That's where my mind was at. And that's how fucking confusing everything was. And that...
So she's saying this as being out of the manic state, but it's so easy to just not say this stuff online because it's incredibly harmful.
I was kind
just my
of her,
opinion.
I thought I had to usher her into heaven.
Okay. No comment? No comment? Is Gabbie insinuating that her house is heaven? Because if so, bitch, just send me to hell.
Ooh, so let me describe who was here.
So someone said, who was the other guy sitting in the back of your videos?
So when that girl...
So this was her talking about that now.
And she was like pretending to be ghosted and like needed my help or whatever. At the same exact time, literally moments later, somebody else knocks on my door. And I'm like, hello, who is it? And he was like, I'm not going to say his name. But he was like, hey, I just came. I drove an hour and a half. I found your TikTok yesterday. I saw it, the way everybody was treating you. And I just wanted to come and see if you needed, you know, support. I wanted to give you a hug.
Even that's so weird. I saw your TikTok, so I drove an hour and a half to come meet you. That is very weird.
Do you want me to chill in your backyard? I have a...
This is very weird.
violin, I have a bass, I have 2 dogs. And I was like, okay, sure, this is like the most bizarre fucking timing in the world. So now she comes out in her bikini, he's sitting in the backyard, and she's a completely...
Fuck me, was it like a party house? How many people are at your house right now?
Bitch now. Like, Little Miss, I'm a vet tech and I'm so sad and I've been cutting myself my whole life because everybody's so cruel to me, as she's literally exploiting and manipulating me, right? So now this guy's here.
Girl.
And I can tell by the situation that she's like different. So then she starts clearing her throat. That's a whole different thing. I'll come back to that. But he was just like a person who I was actually really glad showed up.
Can you believe that this is a YouTuber who like made their living off of telling stories, and the way she's telling the story right now is so awful?
Because when the cops came in again and broke into my fucking back gate, and you know, they were here for wellness checks or whatever, but at this point it's literally traumatizing because the cops, excuse me, have been showing up at this point for a full month. That's what people don't understand. Like, this wasn't something that was like all of a sudden. Like, the cops have been showing up for a month, and I keep telling them, hey, I'm fine, like whatever. He was just a stranger who literally slept in my backyard, and I was okay with it. Because when those two cops came in again and those loud ass fucking dogs were there and there was a man in my backyard, I felt safer. He slept in my backyard, literally, on the fucking ground. My life was really fucked up last week. I really didn't feel like manic. Hypomanic, probably. I'm always in either a hypomanic, depressive, or stable mood as a bipolar 2 person. But the mania started when people were calling me manic and calling cops when I was just doing poetry. Like, there was this one poem I did where I was like, he sitteth on the right, something about the right. And then, oh wait, he left the prodigal son, oh right. And then I like fell to the floor. And everybody's like, she's crazy, she's crazy. But it's literally performance art. She sitteth on the right. Like, that was fucking, first of all, really clever word, whatever.
Also, I think using the words like performance and stuff, this is what I talked about in my last video about Gabbie, using the words like performance and like performer or art or whatever, whenever Gabbie's referencing back the videos that made people very concerned about her, is probably not the best thing, considering she's still saying that this is like a manic breakdown, because then you're like mixing that you were like putting on a performance. I don't know if you know what I mean by that. Anyway, next one.
I keep saying I'm done for the day, and then I remember another piece of the story that I have to tell you. So one thing that kept happening was my phone was being blown up by texts from people who I haven't talked to in years, haven't seen in years, didn't really have much of a relationship with in the first place. And they were just messages of like, hey, I just want you to know if you ever need anything, like, I'm here, I'm thinking about you. So I assume that they know what's going on, right? So I would respond to them as if they knew what was going on, and they'd be like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And then this one guy, he used to work out at my gym like a couple years ago. He moved a while ago. I would just see him at the gym. We didn't really have a personal relationship, right? He sends me this really long message saying like, I'm always here for you if you ever need anything, like, don't let people make you feel a certain type of way, da, 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 da. So again, I assume he has to know what's going on, right? So then the next day he texts me and he goes, holy shit, I just Googled you. I had no idea that any of this was going on. I knew my intuition was strong. I didn't know that it was this strong. And that happened over and over and over again. So that's the thing, is like the power of collective consciousness and prayer or thought or energy, all of that shit is real.
This is sounding like a Trisha Paytas string of thoughts right now, right? Okay, next one.
Okay, so I told you what heaven was like, but now I'm gonna tell you what hell was like.
She's gonna start saying that it's one of her concerts. Bet. I'm kidding. It's actually the Daft Noodles Roast Show.
In hell or purgatory. I've always had a theory that Earth is purgatory and heaven and hell at the same time. I've always felt that. But I'm gonna tell you what I felt hell was. So this guy hit me up and he told me to come meet him at this church that's in this sort of like, I guess like, I actually don't know what the building is. So I get dressed and I'm going, and my throat is so fucking tight and tickly all of a sudden. And I'm like,
would normally explain that.
And I have
it would normally explain that, babe.
Drinking water, and I'm like, what the fuck, dude? It was like I was sick all of a sudden. So then I get to this place, and there's somebody on the microphone on the stage, but when I walked in, it sounded like it was like I couldn't tell where the voice was coming from, basically. And everything just felt like really surreal and gray. So then I see this thing that says door 1, and then it says use door 2. So then I started walking to the right because it literally had an arrow and was like door 2. So I started walking to door 2.
How much did she do within a couple days?
Right,
seriously, right?
I was like, what the fuck? So then there was door 4.
Seems like she was very booked and busy for a good few days.
And we sat at the table, and we sat by door 1, and I looked directly next to it, and door 2 was there. The woman was literally too stunned to speak. So I'm sitting there like
the woman was just stunned to speak.
Like this intense
popular meme.
Cough out of nowhere. And he's sitting next to
Cotton
me,
Mouth Babe.
and all of a sudden he gets this intense as fuck cough out of nowhere, like this tickle in his throat. And we're both just sitting across the table from each other. Like literally fucking choking. It was the weirdest fucking experience. And then I went home and it was gone. So then when ghost girl Caitlin came, and I'm sitting here in my cashmere sweater and I'm totally fucking fine, and then she starts shifting in her seat and she's talking about how hot it is, and then she starts going and like choking. That's when I was like, oh my god, this bitch is a demon. So then I kicked her out. So then I don't know if it was the next day or the day after, but when I was painting in my driveway, this neighbor approaches me. I've lived here for over 3 years, and this person has never spoken to me. And all of a sudden she has so much interest in me, and she's like trying to get to know me and asking me about my beliefs and all this shit, right? So I'm like, ooh, friendly neighbor. And then all of a sudden she goes, I have a tickle in my throat. And in my mind, I'm like, this bitch is about to say some whack shit. Because I now associate the tickle in your throat with something like negative, like it's like a sign that I'm given. So immediately after she says she has a tickle in her throat, she starts like shaming me and telling me basically that I need to be like nice to my neighbors. And then my neighbors pull into their driveway and she's like they act like I can't see what's going on. Like they're all talking shit about me to each other, and they sent her to talk to me.
I actually surprisingly have nothing to say about that one, to be fair. Alright, next one! They're getting weirder and weirder.
So the only thing that I can really think of that...
So this is someone saying, now tell us why you were making racist comments. Now, this actually is true. Gabbie was going on her Instagram lives, we talked about this, and she was saying very racist things. So this is her now addressing that.
Said that could be perceived as racist is on a live stream I said something about black fathers and black families, right? What I meant...
I said something like, no, you had said quite a lot of racist things.
By that is statistically, black families do have single parent homes. And because of that, we as a society need to fix the socioeconomic problems and inequalities. Because the disparities in single parent households between black versus white communities has nothing to do with melanin and everything to do with opportunities and education afforded to those in those areas. I grew up in a really poor, high crime neighborhood where I was one of the only white kids. Oh, that's another thing. So I kept referring to myself as colored. I am a real big fan of words and their literal definitions. Colored, having color or colors, especially as opposed to being black, white, or neutral. So when I refer to myself as colored, I am neither black, white, or neutral. And as a Middle Eastern...
Girl! She was calling herself colored as like a defense of making like racist comments, and now she's saying, I actually didn't mean it to be black or white.
Who presents as a white girl with a big nose and somewhat frizzy hair. Actually, my hair is like mega smooth right now. I've been conditioning every day. I never fit in anywhere. I definitely have been discriminated against and treated like not a white girl. My features that I get made fun of the most are my Middle Eastern features. But if everybody wants to just choose to ignore that I've been talking about white privilege on my platform literally since 2015 or 2016, before it was like a hot topic, I lost a ton of followers and subscribers for it. I didn't care. I've always used my voice and spoken up in times of crisis within the black community or when we are rallying against racism in general.
It's quite the bare minimum, babe, to be honest.
And I'm fighting for equality for all people. The last thing I want to say on this topic is that while I know I said that opportunities in education aren't afforded the same to everybody, but while they aren't presented at the same age, I want to make sure that every young black, Asian, Indian, Mexican, any color, any race person in America at least is absolutely capable of anything that they want to do. And there isn't a single system or person that can stop you from doing exactly what you want to do. The problem, I believe, is that young people in high crime and low income areas, which are usually heavier in black people than white people socioeconomically, it's just how it's been. It's the encouragement and the education and the examples of people who have made it that need to be demonstrated in those areas.
Lord.
Thank you for leaving.
Someone said, no, you overstepped your boundaries. You said you had nappy hair when you don't. And you said things very offensive towards our community.
And for giving me the opportunity to clear up this misconception. I actually didn't say that. What I said was I grew up in a town with a lot of black girls. I grew up specifically in an area that was primarily black. And we all just used the words nappy and ashy, white girls and black girls, and nobody ever expressed any type of concern about it because that was just what we were raised with. If we were in school and we needed to borrow somebody's brush, be like, yo, can I borrow your brush? My hair is nappy. Or if your friend notices your legs are dry, she might throw you her lotion, be like, girl, you're ashy, put on some lotion. It was never racist because none of us were ever saying it in a racist context. Now, if somebody were to be like, ew, look at that black girl's skin, it's so dry, she's gross and ashy, that's racist, but nobody was saying that. Do not fucking take that sound bite, somebody, and make it sound like I'm saying that. But my point was, we're intent and your heart matters. Like in this situation, I didn't call my hair nappy. I was giving an anecdote of when a white girl told me that I was racist in college for using words that both white girls and black girls alike used growing up. And I do think that there's a greater conversation to be had about things like this because it's so much unnecessary friction and we start fighting over these little things and then we're arguing over the difference of cultural appropriation versus cultural appreciation. And in the meantime, there's literally people dying in countries without food and water and actually people being murdered every day. So many issues that are so much bigger than whether or not somebody says the words that they were raised in. I stopped calling my hair nappy when I found out that people found it offensive. I stopped calling my skin ashy when I found out that people felt it was offensive. And the reason I even shared that story and opened myself up to that criticism is to hopefully serve as an example to others.
What? I like saying a bunch of like it was racist stuff she was saying on her TikTok live and then being like, the reason I said it was to open myself up for criticism, to be a lesson to others. What? Anyways, two more. Someone said, what about invalidating the DID community?
See, when people say things like invalidate the DID community, I remember saying that I cured DID because I was fucking convinced as fuck that I had DID. Dead ass. I talked to my therapist about it. I talked to family members about it. I really fucking thought I had DID. I would watch back footage of myself and be like, who the fuck is that? Like I would have different voices, different mannerisms. Like it was really disorienting to me. And then I would watch back these dissociative episodes where I would literally, and in fact, I have so many of them on camera where I do the thing, like where they say that they're like switching personas, right? So I'm like, holy fucking shit, I have DID. And I'm not saying that anybody else doesn't or that it's not real. And that's what's so frustrating with the internet in general is like these heavy things like you're invalidating DID. I said, I cured DID, ADHD, and OCD. It's so frustrating. Anyway, the conclusion that I came with my own kind of mental health journey of trying to figure out what the fuck was going on with me was every time I was like dissociating, it was like my body was kind of just tricking itself into meditation and breath work. It was like, you're really fucking overwhelmed right now. Slow down and breathe. And then when I would come back, I was somebody new. I was somebody fresher. And then I also realized that these characters that I was like creating in my mind were just that. And then as I was connecting with my spirituality more, I was like, oh my God, all of this stuff, these thoughts, these feelings, this is spirit, which is also thought, because our thoughts are not written by us. They're given to us, and then we choose which ones that we want to continue to live with, basically. So everybody wants me to just blindly apologize all the time, but I did that for fucking years, and people still fucking bully me and tell me that I'm a horrible person. So straight up, I'm fucking done bending over backwards apologizing for shit that I frankly didn't say or do. There's a difference between being offensive and somebody being offended or being intimidated.
Like your comments on trans people?
and someone being intimidated. I saw that on an Instagram reel once, and it's fucking true.
All right, and then thankfully, the final one. I'm sure we're gonna close on such a great note. Someone said, you literally said, did you meditate and become a different person? And then went on to say how people with DID make it up in their heads. So this is the final, thankfully, video.
I do know what you're talking about. You know what? The way I delivered that video was incredibly insensitive. And I do apologize for that. So the video that this is referring to is I said something about, oh, did you meditate and like your imagination created a character? Again, I am apologizing for this because it was worded so poorly. So here was my intention, because intention and impact do matter. And the impact clearly was bad, but the intention was good. So please, now that I've apologized, hear me out. So as somebody who really thought they had DID and has pretty severe CPT.
Now that I've apologized for it, I'm gonna say the exact same thing again in a different way.
This was my way of reframing the situation that made it not a like mental illness. So much of mental illness, I believe, is actually supernatural powers that we're convinced makes us crazy. So these characters that are coming to your mind, I do believe still that they're characters, and I don't think that that's offensive, because they are basically avatars that your imagination has created. Your human brain is so fucking powerful that through all of your trauma, it has fractured your personality into several pieces and created characters who represent the person that you want to be in those situations. To me, that's not a negative thing. To me, that's a fucking superpower and makes you an incredibly intelligent and creative and intuitive and resourceful human being who has accessed other parts of their brain that a lot of people don't know how to access. That being said, a lot of people with DID,
she's just saying the same thing here.
Fucking scary characters in their brain.
Like literally the exact
They're
same
either
thing.
somebody who's attacked them. I know somebody who has a ghost in their brain that scares them. So if a DID patient is able to reframe their mind as I'm mentally ill and these characters just exist in my head and I have to live with them, to I actually have a lot more control over this than people are giving me credit for. And I can create a different story in my head. I can create different characters in my head, and I have complete and total control over my own mind. Tell yourself that. That's how I feel. And I do understand, especially in this situation, why people were upset. And I genuinely apologize. I always want to apologize when I say things.
She just said, I'm done apologizing as well.
That hurts people. I do also wish that people could see that my heart and my intentions are pure. And when I'm in a fucking hallucinogenic manic state, it's not coming out properly. But I was so fucking excited by the idea that I felt like I cracked this code of how to really alter your brain to see your mental illness as a superpower that you actually have control over, that I wanted to share it, and I wanted to share it quickly. And I do believe that that dissociative place is actually your mind tricking your body into meditation.
Well, I have great news. And the great news is we're done. We're done. All right. Well, that was a lot. We had a lot to go through there. I honestly have no further comment. Again, she's one of the only people that will genuinely leave me speechless. So bravo, Gabbie. Bravo. Muckers, let me know your opinion on this down below. I love you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.